Good morning, everyone. I'd also like to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Directors of Senior Community Services. My name is Joel Ackerman, and I have the honor of serving on the board. It's a fantastic volunteer opportunity. I really enjoy it. And I know that there's going to be ongoing activity over there, but hopefully everyone will be able to hear what the speaker has to say. This morning, I have the honor of introducing our speaker, and this session, Taking Control of Your Privacy, is being presented by Dr. Faisal Kaleem, a professor in the Department of Computer Science and Cybersecurity at Metro State University. Dr. Kaleem earned his PhD in electrical engineering from Florida International University in Miami, Florida. They're having a little bit of activity down there this year, or today. Hopefully all will be well. And he's been a committed educator since 1998. He is an award-winning cybersecurity educator, and he has made significant contributions to the field both nationally and here in Minnesota, and particularly in fostering a diverse cybersecurity workforce and establishing a comprehensive cybersecurity ecosystem. Dr. Kaleem's work is supported by substantial grants from the NSF, NSA, and various state and private entities. He's holding esteemed industry certifications such as CISSP. Dr. Kaleem is also celebrated for his commitment to teaching, evidenced by multiple awards for excellence in teaching and accolades from the professional community. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Kaleem.
Thank you very much, Joel, for that kind introduction. And good morning, everyone. I also have a co-presenter with me, one of my grad students, Will Lee. And he is my grad student, but in his daytime job, he is an information security officer for a very large bank. So any finance-related stuff, you can talk to him. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, thank you very much again for inviting us this morning to talk about security and privacy. This is indeed a very, very important topic, and most of the time, folks completely forget about this thing, or they take it for granted. And that is the reason, we want to come over here and we want to make sure that you are all familiar with some basic stuff. So we may not have time to go over every single thing, but what we did was that we created some sort of kind of like a handouts and some resource sheets that we're going to provide to the organizer of the conference, and then they can actually kind of like email you guys or however it works. So let me show you this thing quickly. So if you can, you have to just shut down the, let's just get out of the, sometime the, okay, here you go. So if you take a look at, just quickly, so we actually created 3 handouts. So the first one is protect your online accounts, and if you see this thing, it goes through, the different type of, what you need to do, like passwords, multi-factor authentication, how to be cautious with the different type of messages, how to monitor your accounts regularly, and so on. And the second handout that we actually created is how you should spot the spams, or the scams, actually. So there are a bunch of different type of scams, and I hope that there's time that we go over some of them to make you guys aware of those scams. And then finally, the third handout basically talk about how you're going to actually adjust your privacy settings. So we don't have time to actually go over every single setting during the session. But we kind of decided to give you this step-by-step. Like, for example, if you have an iPhone or iPad, these are the steps that you should take. Or if you actually have an Android device, these are the steps that you can take. Or if you are using let's say, computers with Windows 10 or 11 running, or a Mac system running, these are something that you could do to control your privacy, or just modify some of those security settings, or how to do something in the web browsers like Chrome or Mozilla or whatever different type of browser. So that's one thing that I want to make sure that you are all aware of this thing, and we're going to make sure that we're going to provide this thing to the organizer, and then they can distribute this information via the email. The second handout we want to quickly show you guys is the a resourceful handout. So if you take a look at it, what we did was that we actually put together a couple of websites over here, which basically will help you, like for example, if you're a victim of a scam or something, who should you contact, okay? Or if you want to obtain some sort of, let's say, guidance, there's an FCC website, or there's a US Senate Special Committee on Aging Fraud website. That's a wonderful website right over there. And there are a bunch of nonprofit organizations. AARP Fraud Watch Network website is a wonderful, wonderful resource that you definitely would like to take a look at it. And then again, there are some educational tools and interactive resources available. There are websites from Microsoft. There's a phishing quiz website that you definitely want to take that phishing quiz to understand, what kind of phishing schemes are out there. Then there are obviously some guides and tutorials on the social media and privacy settings, the browser privacy settings. And then, we also provide you with some links on the security tools and softwares, okay? And again, these are just recommendations. You may or may not have to follow these recommendations, but I want to just make sure that, we start with these things, and then, we'll basically make sure that we provide you with these resources. Plus, we can also provide you with the PDF of the presentation that we are going to do. With that, let's get started with the presentation. So now go into the slideshow. Yeah, and run from beginning. Okay, so obviously, as you can see, that the title is taking control of your privacy. And what we are going to be discussing today, we are going to be talking about how to protect your privacy and basically provide you some tips to make sure that your digital information is properly safeguarded and so on. Now, why privacy is important, and especially for the older adults? Because older adults, again, in the previous presentation, the keynote, I was just taking some notes with Stephanie when she showed that graph, talk about 97% of you guys are online doing shopping, 97% are basically communicating with their friends and family, 92% are using some services like DMV or so on, and then 87% basically use the services for doctor's appointments and so on. So again, there's a big online presence when it comes to the older adults. Unfortunately, this also makes you a big target for cyber criminals, okay? You know why? Because they assume you might be less familiar with all the digital security. And in most cases, this is true. So let's start this, let's put in this context, and let's talk about the two scams that recently happened. So the first, I don't know, anybody remember this 2023 Medicare scam? Yeah. Okay, so if you remember, this basically, was a huge scam across the nation in 2023, and the scammer, what they were doing, they were actually posing as Medicare representatives, and they were offering, free medical devices such as knee braces or back supports or genetic testing kits and so on. And what they were asking in return, they were asking in return for your Medicare information, for your Medicare number, for your personal information, and so on. So basically, they were kind of like using some, high-pressure tactics, okay, creating a sense of urgency, and they were telling you that, hey, take it right now. This offer is for limited time. If you don't do it, this offer is going to be gone tomorrow. Those kind of tactics they were using. Next slide. So what was the impact? Obviously, there was a big financial loss, medical identity theft. The records that they stole were used to defraud the Medicare, so big time medical identity theft, and definitely emotional distress, among the seniors. Why it works? Because again, as you can see that I just mentioned this thing in my beginning statement, that you as the older adults are perceived as more trusting and less familiar with the digital security and these modern scam tactics. Okay, and then at the same time, these guys were so professionally sounded, like, they know all the medical terminologies, they know all the official sounding language and so on. And that basically makes a scam more convincing. So that was the first one that actually happened in 2023. Now, this year, anybody? Right? So very, very common. And this scam exploited, you know what? Your love and concern for your grandkids. Okay? And then what they were doing? They were basically utilizing some sort of high-tech AI kind of stuff, okay? And they were calling you, mimicking the voice of your grandkid or so on. And in some cases, maybe a lawyer or a law enforcement officers telling you, hey, your grandchildren is in trouble or is in accident or they are in jail for whatever reason. And they would want you to send some urgent money, via cash or gift cards or wire transfers. This again was a very, very big scam this year. Next slide. So once again, what was the impact? Financial loss, big time emotional manipulation, because obviously your love and concern for the grandkids are involved in this case. Okay? Widespread reach. According to FBI, this scam actually had 70% more damage than the previous year's scam. 70% more damage. Why it worked once again? Because they exploited the natural instinct of the grandparents to protect, their grandchildren. Okay? And again, as I said, they were using the AI technology. And AI obviously is messing everything up. On one hand, it is a good thing, but on the other hand, it is also doing so many bad things as well. Next slide. So this is the reason why it's so important to talk about, the online privacy. And I want you to understand, how to protect what we call your PII or PHI. Now, these are the two terms you should remember. I know most of you guys probably know PHI, which is protected health information, okay, which includes your health-related information. PII is another term that means personally identifiable information. That would include your name, your email address, your social security number, your date of birth, your financial information, and so on. Guess what? What they are after, these scammers, they basically are after your PII and PHI because they want to use it in identity theft and some sort of fraudulent medical claims. So that is the reason why it's so important to understand, these definitions and make sure that how you actually kind of protect yourself against it. Now, there is a big difference between security and privacy, okay? Now, privacy, I would like you guys to understand that it's basically the rights of the individual to control your personal information. And you have the right to decide, who collect the information, who share the information, and what kind of information they are allowed to share, with whoever. And security simply enable the privacy. So security is all about utilizing some controls to make sure that your private information do not go, everywhere. So I wanna quickly show you guys a website. So go on just exit out. So quick question. While Will is basically exiting out, just exit out. This one. Oh, sorry. And then go on and this one. Now, when you go on a website, raise your hand. How many of you guys check their privacy language? Really? Wow. Okay. And again, I'll tell you this thing that most of the time, people just go surf the website, look at the application, and they have no idea about the privacy settings or what the website is going to collect or what the website is going to, share the information. This website, is basically stands for Terms of Service Didn't Read. Okay, and if you if you take a look at the About section, it says this website is a project they started in 2012 to help fix the biggest lie on the web, which is almost no one really reads the terms of service we agree to all the time, right? That's what we do. Now, I want you guys to take a look at it. Scroll up, and you're gonna find, and you can put anything in this. So no, scroll down. I'm sorry. You can put this thing like search for Walmart or search for any of the providers, and then you'll find out that they are basically, let's see why, internet connection. There you go. They actually give the grades. So Facebook, most of you guys are on Facebook. What grade they are getting? E, because of the privacy, because what Facebook does, Facebook stores your data, whether you have an account or not. You know, your identity is used in ads that are shown to other users. The service can read your private messages. The service can view your browser history. Deleted account is not really deleted. They get a grade, what is that, grade E or F? E, whatever, okay? And then same on, I mean, again, I honestly would recommend or suggest you guys that before you look at any website, just write down the name of the website over here, search it, and they will give you the grade of that website, that what that website is actually doing with your private data. All right, so I want to make sure that you're aware of this thing. Let's go back to the presentation. Yeah, no, this one, and then start the slide. You can write from the current slide. Unfortunately, we have to switch back and forth. All right, next slide. Okay, this is me. So now let's talk about, how you're going to manage the privacy. And what we did was we actually kind of divided into 3 layers. Okay, we're going to have what we call the global layer. Okay, then we're going to have a local layer. And then we're going to have a personal layer, which actually includes your cell phone devices and so on. All right, so let's start with the global layer, which talks about the public Wi-Fi. Okay, and public Wi-Fi is something that you typically get connected, while you are sitting at the airport. Starbucks is the favorite public Wi-Fi, okay, or hotels, which are typically unsecure. Now, what are the risks involved there? Definitely, there is a high chance of data getting intercepted while it is being transmitted. There is, in technical terms, there is something called a man-in-the-middle attack. And again, as the name suggests the meaning, somebody or this attacker could inject themselves in between you and the connection, and then now they can start reading everything that you're sending, to the website or to the server, including your password, including whatever you are sending. Okay, and obviously there's always a possibility for them to include or introduce some sort of virus into the connection. And then be also very, very careful with those fake hotspots. What are these fake hotspots? So let's say you are at an airport or something like that, okay? And the airport also says MSP free Wi-Fi, and then there is also another MSP free Wi-Fi. So what they try to do, they try to actually come up with these fake Wi-Fis, basically which are similar in name as a legit Wi-Fi. And obviously most of the time people don't take a look at if it's a legit one or if it's a bad one, and then they simply connect. So imagine if you get connected to the fake hotspot, you're going to be in trouble because all your data will be sent through this intruder or the hacker's network. So we put some best practices over there. So first of all, always try to use the password-protected Wi-Fi network. Okay, always try. I mean, again, if it's not available, then we'll tell you what to do next. Avoid performing sensitive transactions over the unsecure public Wi-Fi. So let's say you are at the airport and you're connected to the public Wi-Fi. Do not make bank transactions at that time, okay? Or do not check your health records at that particular time. There's no urgency, You should always use a strong password for your own home Wi-Fi system. I can tell you this thing, there are websites available, and we don't have time to demonstrate those things. But basically what these folks does, that they actually move around in all the areas, and they actually collect all the Wi-Fi passwords and everything, and they post it on a public website. Okay, so it's very, very important for you to be able to secure yourself and to secure your home network is to use a strong password for your home Wi-Fi, and also try to utilize the latest possible encryption available through your Wi-Fi access point or through your router, the small device that you actually have that lets you connect to the internet. And typically that is WPA3 or maybe WPA4. Those are all encryption technologies. Next slide. And then let's say if you have no choice but to do something important while you're connected to an unsecure network, the best thing you could do is to utilize what we call the virtual private network, okay, which stands for, VPN, virtual private network. So it's all about creating a secure tunnel. So think about that, you are going inside the tunnel and nobody outside the tunnel can see you, right? So that's basically the whole idea about the VPN. And what the VPN does, that VPN basically hides your IP addresses, and IP addresses are simple numbers that basically identify your connection to the provider. They encrypt the data, and they also prevent tracking by these websites or the internet service providers. They also try to hide your online activities from the ISPs and so on. So this is a must. If you have no choice but to use the unsecure Wi-Fi, you must enable the VPN as a second thing before you perform any secure transaction. Now, obviously, the question is going to be, how do I know, which one is good or which one is bad? Obviously, free always entice you, right? And then there are some free, which are also bad free, okay? Because they will come with different type of ads and different type of other stuff, less security, less privacy controls, and so on. So, and then at the same time, they might not be as user-friendly, especially from the older elderly perspective. So there are some recommendations that we put together in the document that I showed you guys. There are a couple of good ones which are paid that you may want to invest into, especially if you have a need of connecting to the unsecure Wi-Fi and performing these transactions. Will, I think that's what next you're going to start.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaleem Lee. You introduced me already. Thank you for being here. So we'll dive right into the local layer, so managing privacy. So this has to do with browsers and the enhanced privacy that the browsers can offer you and making sure you utilize those features. There's a lot of technical stuff in here that, again, is in the handout that Faisal has. Walks you through step by step on how to actually put those settings in place. But right now, we'll just quickly go through them.
Yes, it's important that right now we're going to just talk about what is it, okay, and how to do it. They are in the handout. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Phil.
So we have, browsers have various features, security features that don't come, like when you when you install them, aren't turned on by default generally. So you actually have to go in and do it. And the reason they do that is because they want to sell ads and they do want to track you. So, so your browsing habits, you need to watch those. Try not to go to sites with, especially that are spelt incorrectly, is a great one. Yeah, we don't have to go into sandbags. So there's browser privacy. For instance, you can disable what's called cookies. And cookies are little things that go on your device that track wherever you go on the internet. And advertisers can, when you go to a website can request those cookies. And then that's how they get their data and then they sell it.
Yeah, so cookie is the one that kind of stores your information, and it could contain your confidential information, browsing history, and so on. So again, just quickly, cookie, when we talk about the cookies, sometime when you go on these websites, it says you consent to let us install all the cookies, and then obviously you can also manage the cookie setting. So important thing is that if you really want to install the cookies, there's an option of what we call strictly necessary cookies. So sometimes they give you the option upfront, yes or no. And then most of the time people don't even take a look at, at the bottom, there is always an option that you can control what cookies needs to be enabled. So important thing is that you should only let the strictly necessary cookie. Don't let all the cookies get installed on your system, because they also bring the third-party cookies, which may or may not be present on the actual website that you're browsing.
Yep, exactly. And if you go to a website and they don't offer the button that says strictly necessary cookies, it's generally not a good site.
Yep.
And you should request that. Next is incognito mode. And this is a little confusing. So when you have a browser and you go and you click on the incognito mode, that's great. When you close it, it won't save any of your browsing history. or anything like that. So you do have some privacy there. However, if you are incognito mode and you go to, let's say, Facebook, and you log into Facebook with your password, username and password, that is still tracked. So it's not necessarily incognito to everyone that you connect to, just incognito to the computer that you have. So it's not going to save a cookie, but it will see where you go and what you do.
But incognito mode is definitely better than the non-incognito mode or the public browsing mode because it enhances your privacy.
It does.
And important thing is this: if you are in a hotel or on a shared device or a public device, like typically you go to the hotel and you need to download your boarding pass or something like that, please, please, please use the incognito mode because you don't want to leave something personal on those shared devices.
That's right. Let's next. Next, we have the extensions, the add-ons that are able to be added on to a browser. So there's a lot of great privacy nonprofits out there that provide these attachments to your browser that you can install. They're called extensions. And some of them are ad blockers where the website will try to put up an ad and then that little attachment program will quickly grab it and put it out of your way. It's really nice. There's, the Privacy Badger is a great one to use. Let's see. Make sure if you ever go to a website that's just HTTP, don't go to it. Make sure it's always HTTPS because that means it's encrypted and so no one can actually see the traffic going in and out.
And for those of you guys who don't know, HTTP is just a simple protocol, okay? We don't have to worry about it. What you need to worry about is the extra S. That should be there to ensure security and confidentiality.
Right, and many browsers now, especially the new ones, if you do go to an HTTP site, it'll say, this is not secure.
Yep.
So that's when you know when to stop. You go somewhere else. Let's see, managing cookies. So there's settings in your browsers, the modern browsers, which allow you to clear your cookies. You can set it to where it clears your cookies on exit. So when you close the program and you're done with it, it'll delete all the cookies, which is great because some of the cookies can still track you. Even though you go to different sites, it'll still track you. So you want to clear the cookies. The browsing history, again, it's great to get rid of your browsing history. I know it's convenient, but some of when you click on the stuff that you don't read, the SLAs, the service level agreements, right? Some of those give permission for those companies to go in and grab even your browsing history. And then ad tracking. You make sure you opt out of ad, unless you like ads. I mean, some people, I can understand what I'm interested in. I want to see stuff come up. Another thing about, the ad tracking is, and the SLA agreements. So, Alexa, I don't know if any of you have Amazon Alexa and have that.
Or Google.
Or Google, right. They do actually monitor what's going on around you if you have the device that you can actually speak to in your house. And in those SLA agreements, it does say that they capture everything that you say. Now, it anonymizes it. Technically, they're supposed to anonymize it. But you might see ads popping up of stuff that you've just spoken about the day before. Oops. And that's kind of how the SLAs, what you really want to read, because it's kind of creepy. Like, I was just talking to my friend about something, and I just got an ad about it.
And you probably have noticed this thing that you are talking about some item or something, and and if you have Alexa or whatever, and all of a sudden, on your browser, you are starting getting ads about those items, which means these guys are listening.
Yeah,
and
you gave him permission to listen, right? You gave him permission to, so, yep. All right, let's see, moving on here. Okay, email privacy issues. So if you get spam emails are very dangerous because many of them do contain phishing scams. there's what's called tracking pixels that actually, like good companies actually use these as well, but obviously they are turned for nefarious reasons. So these are little pixels that you can't see, and there's embedded email, or there's embedded code in those that it can be tracked. I believe it can track it that way.
Yep.
Right? Yep. And
It can provide your location information. It can provide your browser information. There's tons of things. It can tell the service provider that if you have opened the email or not. So these are some very tiny pixels that you cannot even see.
yeah, you can't even see them. They're invisible in the email, but they attach code to them, like little programs, and you can track everything through that. So there's email privacy. There's also email privacy settings that you can actually enable two-factor authentication, which is highly recommended that you do. The way they do the two-factor authentication now is actually a lot easier too, where some of them you don't need a password. You just go to the website and then click on a button, and they'll send you a text, or they'll send you a message with an authenticator, and you just type that in, just the authenticator on your phone, on your device, and then usually it's like a 6-digit code, and then you just put that in instead of remembering passwords, for instance.
And then there are some recommendations over here. If you are absolutely concerned about your privacy, and I know that most of us uses Gmail or Hotmail and Outlook and those kind of things, but then this Proton Mail and Tudanato or Zoho Mail, these are some of the email providers which actually says privacy is the top. And even if you go on the Proton Mail website, they will tell you that how they're different from Gmail, because Gmail can still literally read your email, okay? But Proton Mail cannot even read your email, so and so on. So again, it all depends upon how concerned you are, and then you can obviously invest in those kind. Proton Mail and those obviously are free services, but then obviously there are paid plans as well if you want more storage and so on. Go ahead.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yep. So here's a phishing email example. This points out. I don't know if you guys can see it. It is very small here on the screen.
Yep.
So we have a suspicious sender. So there's all these little things that you can point out where this email doesn't quite look right. Sometimes it can, with AI now, however, this is getting more and more sophisticated. So we're trying to figure out, even on a master's level and a doctorate level, we're trying to figure out how to combat that AI portion of these, especially these spam emails. As AI gets better, the emails will be more and more sophisticated with no spelling errors, that type of thing. They'll still come from someone, however, that you may or may not know. So that's good to double check those.
And there are sometimes very like common signs that you look for. So for example, in this case, look at the way Outlook is spelled. So instead of O, they put zeros. Okay, instead of net, typically it's outlookhelp.com. But again, if you see right now that the URL is basically suspicious right over there. And then once again, the important thing is that the urgency, if the email sounds like you have to do it within like the next 1 hour, otherwise, the sky is gonna fall or whatever, right? Then you will know that, hey, this is something, not good, or a bad email or something. And look at the email address as well, like it's coming from, if you take a look at the .hu, that happens to be basically from a different country, because typically these are the country prefixes and so on. So again, you just be aware of all these telltale signs about the phishing emails. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay. This has to do with the email server, the privacy settings within the email applications themselves. So Gmail has a confidential mode that makes it, printed, it's printed by the recipient. I'm not sure if that is accurate. Okay. Sorry, my screen's getting disabled.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so read receipts, images, let's see, secure connections, encrypted emails. These are, if you're sending email, or if you're sending private email, like health stuff, generally the doctor that you have an app to send that information. Don't send it through the email itself, because the email that you have on your device generally isn't encrypted. There needs to be the Zix is a company, for instance, that allows encrypted email that you can send that confidential private health data through, or even financial stuff. If you have a financial advisor, for instance, they'll have an encrypted way of doing it within that company.
And one important thing over here about the junk mail, if you, let's say, spot a junk mail, because sometimes, these filters are getting good, but sometimes the emails still come through to your inbox. So let's say that a junk mail come to your inbox, and if you can identify that mail as a junk mail, actually press the button and say that this is a spam email or a junk email so that the filter can get better. Okay, so that's to
Yeah, that's a great, if you do find something that in your regular email that isn't, an actual good email, click on that spam or junk, because that'll save it in there, and anything else that comes from that person or that whoever it was will automatically be put in there. Don't just delete it, I guess is the point. Again, we go into more spam filters with the phishing. You can report phishing attacks or phishing emails. I know with Google it has that. I'm not sure I think Outlook has that as well.
Yeah. So these are all suggestions and so on. And again, as I said, that we don't have time to go have
these are more
in terms of
technical
the settings,
ones.
but they are all available that you can manage your spam settings, your phishing settings, spam filters. Definitely report the phishing for sure.
Yep, this will be all in the handout for you, so we don't have to go through these here. There's some encryption protocols for emails. This is a little more technical stuff we probably don't need to go into, but these are in the handouts again.
Talk about the password. That's important.
Oh yeah, change your passwords regularly. What do you think regularly could mean? It's various. I change mine every 6 months, personally, I use a passphrase.
Yeah.
So I don't usually use a
Passphrase
password.
or passkeys are the newer thing. So again, if your provider provides that option of passphrase or passkeys, because passkeys are this one-time basis only, like they will send you a passkey that is good for that particular session, and then next time they will send you something different. So try to opt for that particular option if it's available. Go ahead, next.
Right, yep.
That's also, we already talked about that.
Yeah, we did, okay.
Okay, now your
This is-
personal layer. Go ahead.
This is my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the personal layer for your, and that's the devices that are most personal to you, right? We call that the personal layer. So there's location settings on your phone. You can set access to, if a new app, you install a new app, and then it says, do you want to allow this app access to location all the time or just during this session? Make sure you do it always just during that session.
Yep.
Only when the app is open should it know where you are and any type of settings related to that.
And folks, this is very, very important. If you really want to, take control of your privacy, you need to actually understand how to manage these things, okay? Because it's so convenient to say, yes, location settings all for anything or everything, but that would come back and haunt you. So this is the reason, the recommendation is, if you install the app and, the app is going to ask you, hey, turn the location settings on, those are the options. If you feel like, for example, your Light app on your phone. So think about it. If the Light app is asking for a location setting, you might be wondering, what the heck the Light app asks the location setting for, right? There is no need for the Light app for location. So just think about those kind of things, like why a particular app would ask for a permission. That makes no sense. So do not give that permission. And sometimes there are default permission. Sometimes you really have to go inside the app and then manage those permissions out. So just do those things.
Yep.
That's what we are talking about over here, limiting the app's permissions.
And also for unused, uninstall the unused apps. So sometimes during, especially with Androids, the phones, when there's a security update or an update that they have, after the update, there'll be 4 games installed. And after the update, I always have to go back and uninstall them because they see, oh, you don't have 4 games on your phone. It's remarkably, but I clicked the I agree, so I had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you are not using a particular app, simply uninstall it.
Yep.
Okay, it makes no sense for those apps to be on your phone.
It makes your phone slower and
Yep.
it takes up memory and yeah.
Next slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here are some settings.
10 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah. There.
Go ahead.
So to enhance your data privacy, here are some settings. This limits the background data, these particular settings. The update your act regularly. A lot of people don't know that. I don't have an iPhone, so I can just go from an Android point of view. You have to go into the Google Google Store and then click on several things that seems more difficult than it should be. And then you'll see another setting that says update all 50 apps on your phone that require it, because I don't know why it's so out of the way, but you definitely need to go in and do that almost on a weekly basis, actually, to keep those apps up to date and secure.
Social media.
This is a big one, social media privacy, managing your privacy on social medias. So Facebook, all these other, most of the sites will have opt-out type of limit your visibility. Like on Facebook, if you're not friends with someone on Facebook, they shouldn't be able to see your stuff. There's lots of settings within those type of social media apps. Definitely turn off location sharing.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have like few minutes left right now. So what we want to do is that we want to quickly go over a few of the scams. So you already have seen this scam. There was a big report that came out by the IC3. This is the FBI unit. They always release this report. The latest one is 2023, the Elder Fraud Report. The link is available, and you're going to be amazed with the amount of the dollar that they lost, and then how many victims were there, and so on. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at this report. But what we want to do is that we're going to quickly take a look at a couple of scams. So we already talked about this one. Next one. We already talked about the Medicare scam. There you go. This is another very common one. You're receiving a call from Microsoft and saying that your computer has a virus, and they want to actually get a remote connection to your computer to fix your computer. Spam or scam, okay? So again, never ever give remote access to your computer to any unknown callers. That's number one thing. Next. Okay, lottery scams or the sweepstakes scams. So all of a sudden, hey, you won a lottery, okay? But in order for you to get the money, we need to get this processing fee or processing charge, okay? So once again, how are you going to recognize it? You cannot win a contest if you did not enter, right? So these are a couple of things that you can recognize and avoid the scams. Next.
And just also remember that these scams are evolving. So if they don't ask you for money, but they ask you for your address, no, that's a scam.
Phishing scam, we'll already talk about it. So again, what are you looking for? Some generic greetings, spelling errors, urgent request, and so on. And again, never click on those suspicious link or download attachment from any unknown sources. Next. Romance scam. They create fake online profiles, and then obviously they start building romantic relationships. Now, how and why it works? Because they are preying on your loneliness, okay? They are basically playing with your emotional connection and so on. Okay, so this is the reason it's very, very important to be aware of this scam. And then keep in mind, I'm not saying that there might be some legit person as well, but again, if they are trying to avoid meeting in person, that tells you that this potentially is a scam. Never send money to someone who you don't know, and so on. Next. then this is a charity scam, okay? Because you guys are so generous, and sympathetic, to charitable causes, and then you want to really help. But once again, they try to take advantage of that. There is a very good website called Charity Navigator. Okay, if you search online, you will see it will tell you if the charity basically is a legit charity or not. So take a look at that before you make any donation to any of these charity. Next. Ponzi schemes or the investment scams. Okay, so once again, they typically target the retirees. Okay, because they want to. The retirees basically are trying to grow their savings and so on, so they go after them. So once again, avoid investments that pressure you into making quick decisions. Next. IRS or government impersonation scam, and these are typically very common during the tax season. Okay? Once again, what to look for? IRS will never ever call you to demand, immediate payment without first sending you a bill. Okay, and if you are not sure, contact the IRS directly. And by the way, do not contact the number they will give you. Okay, they will tell you, call 800 this number. That will route to a call in some countries, overseas. Next. Home repair scam. That's another good one, because what they are doing, that these are actually going door to door and offering home improvement services. And obviously, why it works? Because the older adults, have difficulty maintaining their homes, and they then get targeted by these, scammers. So once again, always verify the contractor's credentials. Next. All right, now these are some of the websites that you can report the fraud or scam. The FTC, and by the way, FTC also has some great resources when it comes to handouts and so on. IC3, AARP Fraud Watch Network, U.S. Senate Special Committee on Aging Fraud, and so on. And the last slide I want to leave you guys with is some 10 tips. Okay? Obviously, these are something that you should definitely try to incorporate in your online activity. Strong, unique passwords, as Will was saying, enable the two-factor authentication, be cautious of the phishing scams, update the software regularly, and that also includes the applications on your phones. Limit what you share on the social media, okay? Once again, public Wi-Fi we talk about. Monitor your account regularly. You guys know this thing that you have this free credit report website that you can download your report, regularly. The 3 times in a year, you can take, advantage of that. Be selective about the apps and the permission. We talk about that. And obviously, the last one is that if you are not sure, we are here to help. So, if you have no idea, what to do, ask the question. You have, at the university we have professors and the students are available to help, or at the same time, there is always going to be help. But again, do not call that 800 number for help. Those are scammers. With that, thank you very much for your time. I hope that you get some good information from today's session.
Thank you.
It will help your little project. Thank you very much. We finished on time.
Got your. Is this?
Sorry.
If anyone would like a digital copy of the presentation, provide your email to either the Metro State or the SCS tables out there. You can just give them your email address and they will email you a copy of the presentation.
All right, now we have 10 minutes before our next presentation, so please feel free to refresh your coffee or whatever, take a look at the exhibits, and we'll see you again in about 10 minutes. Thank you.